Her songs What a Little Moonlight Can Do and Easy Living were being imitated by singers across America and were quickly becoming jazz standards. In 1938, Holiday's single I'm Gonna Log My Heart ranked 6th as the most played song for September of that year. Her record label Vocalion listed the single as its 4th bestseller for the same month. I'm Gonna Log My Heart peaked at number 2 on the pop charts according to Joel Whitburn's Pop Memories. 1890, 1954-inch book. Commodore Recordings and Mainstream Success, 1939. Holiday was recording for Columbia in the late 1930s, when she was introduced to Strange Fruit, a song based on a poem about lynching written by Abel Meeropol, a Jewish schoolteacher from the Bronx. Meeropol used the pseudonym Lewis Allen for the poem, which was set to music, and performed at teachers' union meetings. It was eventually heard by Barney Josephson, proprietor of Cafe Society, an integrated nightclub in Greenwich Village, who introduced it to Holiday. She performed it at the club in 1939, with some trepidation, fearing possible retaliation. Holiday later said that the imagery in Strange Fruit reminded her of her father's death, and that this played a role in her resistance to performing it. When Holiday's producers at Columbia found the subject matter too sensitive, Milt Gabler agreed to record it for his Commodore records. That was done on April 20, 1939, and Strange Fruit remained in her repertoire for 20 years. She later recorded it again for Verve. While the Commodore release did not get any airplay, the controversial song sold well, though Gabler attributed that mostly to the record's other side, Fine and Mellow, which was a jukebox hit. The version I did for Commodore, Holiday said of Strange Fruit, became my biggest-selling record. Strange Fruit was the equivalent of a top 20 hit in the 1930s. For her performance of Strange Fruit at the Cafe Society, she had waiters silence the crowd when the song began. During the song's long introduction, the lights dimmed and all movement had to cease. As Holiday began singing, only a small spotlight illuminated her face. On the final note, all lights went out, and when they came back on, Holiday was gone. Holiday said her father Clarence Holiday was denied treatment for a fatal lung disorder because of prejudice, and that singing Strange Fruit reminded her of the incident. It reminds me of how Pop died, but I'd have to keep singing it, not only because people ask for it, but because 20 years after Pop died the things that killed him are still happening in the South, she said in her autobiography. Holiday's popularity increased after recording Strange Fruit. She received a mention in Time magazine. I opened Cafe Society as an unknown, Holiday said. I left 2 years later as a star. I needed the prestige and publicity all right, but you can't pay rent with it. Holiday demanded her manager Joe Glazer gives her a raise shortly after. Holiday soon returned to Commodore in 1944, recording songs she made with Teddy Wilson in the 1930s like I Cover the Waterfront, I'll Get By, and He's Funny That Way. She also recorded new songs that were popular at the time, including My Old Flame, How Am I to Know, I'm Yours, and I'll Be Seeing You, a Bing Crosby #1 hit. She also recorded her version of Embraceable You, which would later be inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2005. During her time at Commodore, Billie Holiday also babysat the young Billy Crystal, his father being Jack Crystal and uncle being Milt Gabler, the co-founders of Commodore Records. Successes, 1940 to 1947. Holiday's mother, Sadie Fagan, nicknamed the Duchess, started her own restaurant called Mom Holidays. Fagan used the money her daughter earned while shooting dice with members of the Count Basie Band, with whom she was on tour in the late 1930s. It kept Mom busy and happy, and stopped her from worrying and watching over me, Holiday said. Soon, Fagan began borrowing large amounts of money from Holiday, because the restaurant was not turning a profit. Holiday obliged, but soon fell upon hard times herself. I needed some money one night and I knew Mom was sure to have some, Holiday said. So I walked in the restaurant like a stockholder and asked. Mom turned me down flat. She wouldn't give me a cent. The two argued and then, Holiday, in a rage, hollered God bless the child that's got his own, and stormed out of the restaurant. With help from Arthur Herzog Jr., a pianist, the two wrote a song based on the line God bless the child and added music. God Bless the Child became Holiday's most popular and covered record. It reached number 25 on the record charts in 1941, and ranked third in Billboard's Top Songs of the Year, selling over 1 million records. In 1976, the song was added to the Grammy Hall of Fame. Herzog later claimed that Holiday contributed little to the lyrics of her music, adding only a few lines. He also stated that Holiday came up with the line "God bless the child" from a dinner conversation the two had. On June 24, 1942, Holiday recorded "Travelin' Light" with Paul Whiteman for a newly formed label, Capitol Records. Because she was still under contract with Columbia Records, she couldn't release the song under her own name and instead used the pseudonym Lady Day. The song was a minor success on the pop charts, reaching number 23, but hit number 1 on the R&B charts, which were called the Harlem Hit Parade at the time. In September 1943, Life magazine complimented Holiday on her work. They wrote, "She has the most distinct style of any popular vocalist, and is imitated by other vocalists." Milt Gabler eventually became an A&R man for Decca Records, in addition to owning Commodore Records, and he signed Holiday to the label on August 7, 1944, when Holiday was 29. Her first recording for Decca was "Lover Man #16 Pop", number 5 R&B, one of her biggest hits. The success and wide distribution of the song made Holiday a staple in the pop community, allowing her to have her own solo concerts, a rarity for jazz singers in the late 40s. Gabler commented on the song's success, saying, "I made Billie a real pop singer. That was right in her. Billie loved those songs." Jimmy Davis and Roger Ramirez, Lover Man as songwriters, tried to get Holiday interested, and recording the song in 1941, but she didn't take interest. In 1943, a flamboyant male torch singer by the name of Willie Dukes began singing "Lover Man" on 52nd Street. Because of Dukes' success with the song, Holiday decided to add it to her live shows. The song's B-side is "No More", a song Holiday considered one of her favorites. When it came time to record the song, Holiday begged Gabler for strings, which were associated with big-name acts like Frank Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald, to accompany her in the background. "I went on my knees to him," Holiday said. "I didn't want to do it with the ordinary 6 pieces. I begged Milt, and told him I had to have strings behind me." On October 4, 1944, Holiday walked into the recording studio to record "Lover Man", and saw the string ensemble and walked out. The musical director for the session, Toots Camerata, said she was overwhelmed with joy. Another reason for Holiday wanting to use strings may have been to dodge the comparisons made between her commercially successful early work with Teddy Wilson and everything produced afterward. Her 1930s sides with Wilson used a small jazz combo. Her recordings with Decca often involved string ensembles, and presented her voice in a new light. A month later, in November, Billie Holiday returned to the Decca studio to record 3 songs, "That Old Devil Called Love", "Big Stuff", and "Don't Explain". Holiday wrote "Don't Explain" after she caught her husband, Jimmy Monroe, with lipstick on his collar. After the recording session, Holiday did not return to the studio until August 1945. She recorded "Don't Explain" for a second time, changing the lyrics "I know you raised Cain to just say you'll remain", and "You mixed with some dame to what is there to gain". Other songs recorded were "Big Stuff", "What Is This Thing Called Love", and "You'd Better Go Now". Ella Fitzgerald declared "You'd Better Go Now" as her favorite Billie Holiday recording. "Big Stuff" and "Don't Explain" were recorded again, but with additional strings and a viola. Billie Holiday and Her Dog Mr. New York City, circa June 1946. In 1946, Holiday recorded "Good Morning Heartache". Although the song failed to chart, it remained a staple in her live shows with 3 known, live recordings of the song. In September 1946, Holiday began work on what would be her only major film, New Orleans. She starred opposite Louis Armstrong and Woody Herman. Plagued by racism and McCarthyism, producer Jules Levy and scriptwriter Herbert Biberman were pressured to lessen Holiday's and Armstrong's roles in the film as to not give the impression that black people created jazz. Their attempts failed, because in 1947 Biberman was listed as one of the Hollywood 10, and sent to jail. Holiday was not pleased that her role was reduced to that of a maid. "I thought I was going to play myself in it," she said. "I thought I was going to be Billie Holiday doing a couple of songs in a nightclub setting, and that would be that. I should have known better. When I saw the script, I did. Before filming, Holiday was assigned a dramatic coach who coached her on how to properly say Miss Merrily, the lead character's name. So this coach was trying to get the right kind of Tom feeling into this thing, Holiday said. At one point, after feeling cornered and unable to walk off the set, she burst out into tears. Louis Armstrong tried comforting her. "Better look out," he said. "I know, lady, and when she starts crying, the next thing she's going to do is start fighting." Several scenes were deleted from the film. They had taken miles of footage of music and scenes, Holiday said. "None of it was left in the picture. And very damn little of me. I know I wore a white dress for a #1 did, and that was cut out of the picture." She recorded the track "The Blues Are Brewin'" for the film's soundtrack. Other songs included in the movie are "Do You Know What It Means to Miss New Orleans" and "Farewell to Storyville." Holiday's drug addictions were a growing problem on the set. She earned more than $1,000 a week from her club ventures at the time, but spent most of it on heroin. Her lover Joe Guy traveled to Hollywood while Holiday was filming and supplied her with drugs. When discovered by Joe Glazer, Holiday's manager, Guy was banned from the set. By the late 1940s, Holiday had begun recording a number of slow sentimental ballads. The magazine Metronome expressed its concerns in 1946 about Good Morning Heartache, saying there's a danger that Billie's present formula will wear thin, but up to now it's wearing well. The New York Herald Tribune reported on a Holiday concert in 1946 that her performance had little variation in the melody of her songs, with no change in tempo. Legal Troubles, Carnegie Hall Concert, 1947 to 1952. Billie Holiday, New York City, circa February 1947. By 1947, Holiday was at her commercial peak, having made $250,000 in the 3 years prior. Holiday placed second in the Downbeat poll for 1946 and 1947, her highest ranking in the poll. In Billboard's July 6 issue on 1947, Holiday ranked 5 on its annual college poll of girl singers. Joe Stafford topped the poll. In 1946, Holiday won the Metronome magazine popularity poll. On May 16, 1947, Holiday was arrested for the possession of narcotics in her New York apartment. On May 27, 1947, she was in court. It was called the United States of America versus Billie Holiday. "And that's just the way it felt," Holiday recalled. During the trial, Holiday received notice that her lawyer was not interested in coming down to the trial and representing her. "In plain English, that meant no one in the world was interested in looking out for me," Holiday said. Dehydrated and unable to hold down any food, she pled guilty and asked to be sent to the hospital. The DA spoke up in her defense, saying, "If Your Honor please, this is a case of a drug addict, but more serious, however, than most of our cases. Miss Holiday is a professional entertainer, and among the higher rank as far as income was concerned." At the end of the trial, Holiday was sentenced to Alderson Federal Prison Camp in West Virginia, more popularly known as Camp Cupcake. Holiday was released early, March 16, 1948, because of good behavior. When she arrived at Newark, her pianist Bobby Tucker and her dog Mister were waiting for her. The dog leaped at Holiday, knocking off her hat, and tackled her to the ground. "He began lapping me, and loving me like crazy," she said. A woman overheard the commotion and thought the dog was attacking Holiday. She started screaming, and soon a crowd gathered, and then the press showed up. "I might just as well have wheeled into Penn Station and had a quiet little get-together with the Associated Press, United Press, and International News Service," Holiday said. Ed Fishman, who fought with Joe Glazer to be Holiday's manager, thought of the idea to throw a comeback concert at Carnegie Hall. Holiday hesitated, unsure whether audiences were ready to accept her after the arrest. She eventually gave in and agreed to the concert. On March 27, 1948, Holiday played Carnegie Hall to a sold-out crowd. There were 2,700 tickets sold in advance, a record at the time for the venue. Her popularity at the time was unusual in that she didn't have a car.